welcome to the Bullcast Podcast. I'm Katie Pickler, and with me today is Court Winsett.
Hello!
And there's the opening bell. Court, do you know what's coming up?
Don't you mean Daddy?
Daddy's Day.
It is Daddy's Day.
It is Daddy's Day.
I don't know why when y'all said that, I just pictured Daddy Daycare. Do y'all remember that with Eddie Murphy?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Of course, I immediately went to Daddy Warbucks, but...
Daddy Warbucks. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's tell everybody what we're doing. So today, obviously, we are launching the Thursday before Father's Day.
Yes.
So, mamas, we gave you your day. Daddies, I promised y'all y'all would get your day. So here it is. So a little history about Father's Day, because I gave you history about Mother's Day. So equality, we got to be equal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree and completely.
So Father's Day always celebrated on the third Sunday in June.
Yeah, interesting that, don't you think? That the Mother's Day is always on the second Sunday, but then when they did Father's Day, they were like, oh, we'll do that one on the third Sunday?
Well, there's some little drama here about Father's Day, actually.
Okay.
So...
Spill the tea, Katie.
Yes, so it was founded in Washington at the YMCA in 1910 by... Court, you got to help me with names. You know, I'm horrible.
Sonora Smart Dodd.
Yes.
It's a girl.
It's a girl, yes.
Why couldn't it have been founded in a Lowe's parking lot? I mean, come on.
Lowe's
really.
weren't... So this was... 1910. Lowe's wasn't around. But so this girl was actually born in Arkansas, so woo, little Southerner in us. Mm-hmm. Okay, here's the tea. Here's the history. It was introduced to Congress in 1913. Mm-hmm. President Woodrow Wilson wanted to make it official, but Congress resisted. Okay, then President Coolidge tried in 1924, but it stopped short of issuing a national proclamation.
Nobody likes fathers.
All right. And then in 1957, Maine Senator Margaret Chase Smith wrote a proposal accusing Congress of ignoring fathers for 40 years while mothers were honored.
Yeah, right.
So I love her. She was an advocate for the dads. Finally, in 1966, President Lyndon B. Johnson issues the first presidential proclamation honoring fathers. 6 years later, Nixon signed it into law, 1972, as a permanent national holiday.
Yes. And of course, it's not a national holiday that anybody gets the day off for. If they wanted to really honor fathers, give us a day off from work.
I guess
and
they
make sure
figure
you
it's
give
a
me
Sunday.
the big piece of chicken. I want the big piece of chicken, not the small.
Cheaper chicken? Okay, so this episode we are going to talk about dads, and we're actually going to throw in some sports because, in my mind, I always associate sports and dads.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But as usual, we have to do our top five. Except, guys, this week you're in for not top five. You're in for our other branded little session. It's another session of Twitter Nugs.
And Kate and Court are so nice, they're roping me into this one because we have a whole slew of tweets.
Well, Cam, you're a dad, so we figured we'd let you play along. I guess I'm the one that shouldn't be in this. It should just be you two.
Who doesn't love Twitter Nugs?
All right, can I kick this off?
Okay, let's start.
I'm going to do my best to not laugh because this list is hysterical. All right, here we go. My kid can tell me all about a 24-minute episode of Paw Patrol in 56 minutes.
I wear a clown mask to sleep just in case one of my kids has a nightmare and comes to sleep in our bed.
I feel like you actually wrote that. I knew it was time to vacuum when the baby rolled over and looked like an everything bagel.
My youngest is being tested for the gifted program at his elementary school, and my other son thinks his toothbrush is haunted.
A cute thing I tell my kids when we see dead deer on the side of the road is, looks like Santa lost his temper again.
50% of parenting is looking for things with your kids that you've already thrown away.
The best thing about trying to name a baby is realizing how many people you hate.
It's so true.
It's so true.
It's so true.
My wife would bring up names. I'm like, nope, I went to high school with a guy with that name. We're not doing it.
Did the exact same thing. Finally, when we settled on William's name, it was even. Like there were a whole bunch of Williams and Bills and stuff like that I loved, and a whole bunch that I hated. So it sort of balanced out.
Yeah,
we're like, you've got a 50-50 shot of being good or bad.
Okay. It's weird how we tell kids not to lie, then tell them how good the picture they drew is.
Oh, they're so good. I'm at my parenting best when I randomly yell out, "Be careful," every few minutes while looking up from my phone.
Oh, that is so true. Just taught my kids about taxes by eating 38% of their ice cream.
So True.
We have something called the fry tax where I eat some of their fries.
Oh, okay.
It's real.
Nice.
That makes sense.
I finally got some me time away from the kids. 2 whole hours. It would have been longer, but my legs went numb from crouching behind the dryer.
I just have to tell y'all, we kind of just round robin this. I was the one that put this list together, but it is working out perfectly
It is
how it's
wonderful.
mashing up. Okay, hang on, guys. I think my toddler is getting to the good part of his 4-hour-long story, and I don't want to miss it.
Oh, I like this one. The Walking Dad. But it's just a guy walking around the house, turning off lights and muttering that he's not made of money.
I think that also applies to, like, if somebody leaves the sink running too long,
yeah.
it's like, come on, you're wasting water. Stop it.
Speaking of which, one time my dad got mad at Hulk Hogan and yelled, "You're wasting shirts!" at the TV.
I gazed upon the ocean for the first time and felt calm, like a dad staring at the yard for some reason.
Oh, man, I really feel that on the deepest level. Okay, I mainly want to be a dad so I can tuck my shirt in at home.
It's so sad that I do that.
No, you don't.
I wear my shoes until I go to bed.
He's
and
got
I
the dad uniform
almost
down.
always have my shirt tucked in. That's just the way I roll. But I've been doing it since I was a teenager.
I have noticed that, like, sorry to interrupt, but we have, like, our CFP class we're going to, and it's late at night. It's 6:30 to 9:30 at night. I go home and come back up here looking like a homeless person with, like, shorts and a baggy t-shirt on. Court goes home to change, but he's still in, like, khakis with a belt and his shirt tucked in and a t-shirt, and, like, sometimes he'll throw a hat on, but he's very put together next to my homelessness.
What about Tivas with socks on?
Nope, no, absolutely not. That is a big giant foul. Okay, so my next one is my dad acts like the phone ringing is the biggest possible personal attack on him.
Okay, and the last one for our Twitter nugs. My dad's favorite part of vacation is acting like he's better than everyone else because he woke up the earliest.
It's true. I do that. I do that every day of my life. Okay, well, Katie, that's the end of Twitter Nugs.
Woo, that was fun. Okay, so like I said, sporting events and dads. I tend to associate dads and sporting events, and especially with Father's Day. We want to talk about the finances because I think it was Cam last episode talked about how really everything and anything can be financial. And so I thought, sports, dads love sports and, taking their kids to games. So let's talk about that. And I got to give you some knowledge with some numbers. So the sporting industry, as of 2018, was valued at $71.06 billion in US dollars and is estimated to be $83.1 billion by 2023. This is composed of, gate revenue, media rights, sponsorships, merchandising. That's a lot of money.
Still not as much money as Jeff Bezos has by himself, but yeah, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot. Sports have come a long way because we actually the other day were talking about how during the war, then, baseball was almost completely canceled, but then, a league of their own, women got in there and started playing baseball.
There's no crying in baseball.
Exactly.
There's no crying in baseball.
So our athletes had to go fight for our country, but, we made sure that sports still happened. And same thing with, I know we're not trying to talk about the pandemic, but same thing. We tried to make it happen. People would buy cardboard cutouts of themselves, so they were still supporting their favorite team, and they were there. And I think now that things are starting to open back up, it's just we're itching to go. And actually, I think I've heard several people in this office talk about their kids' sporting events, that this is like they live for it because we haven't had major sports lately.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the big event that has been going on is the NBA playoffs, and it's interesting to see how different cities are handling the occupancy and the capacity of their different stadiums as the tournament has gone on, because different cities are like, yeah, full capacity, and other cities are like, no, we're still going to hold off and do 50% capacity. And
Yes.
I think all the fans are just like, just open it up, we want to go and see.
Yeah, Salt Lake was 100% capacity.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what I think that at the end of the day, no matter what the sport is, they rely on their fans. And, that's something that actually money in sports. So I talked about that large number, but there's a lot of things that contribute to it, and fan-based revenue is probably the biggest source of income for all sports and will continue to drive the industry for as long as sports are around.
Fan-based revenue being, I mean, you're talking about like, you know, buying jerseys, attending games, purchasing.
Well, so this is support, like, so merchandise and advertising is separate. So this is just fan-based of like going to the games.
Going to the games
being there.
alone. That by itself is the biggest source.
Yeah, I think it's, is it Rookie of the Year where they've got that great scene and it's just them showing them opening the ballpark and it's just how the science of it, you know, the gates are opening up and the hot dogs are starting to cook and you've got the beer starting to pour and it's just like this magical, gives me goosebumps. Like,
Man, that movie is so good.
Such a good movie.
Rosengardner.
Funky butt loving. But yes, so fan-based revenue is the biggest source of income, followed very closely behind merchandise, which would be buying the jerseys, buying the t-shirts, all of that, and then advertising. And then, you know, it's all this money is generated and brought in. But now the question is, what do they do with this money?
Okay. Well, let's discuss what we do with this money. I assume they pay it out.
Okay, so I have to give my disclaimer. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. I went from
That's
home.
why I'm not taking this bullet, because it's like, okay, this bullet has Katie written all over it.
Insert whoever you would like.
How about them Cowboys?
I say, yeah. I came home from the hospital, I'm pretty sure, in a Cowboys outfit. So I had no choice. But I love the Cowboys. The Cowboys, how they work with this money that's coming in is like a Fortune 500 company. And honestly, this is every organization, whether you're talking about the St. Louis Cardinals, the Atlanta Braves, the New Orleans Saints, anybody insert into this, because what they are doing is they are creating a budget. They're figuring out how much they can afford to put into their employees, put into their players, how much they expect to get in revenue, yada, yada, all of this stuff. And so it really is run like a business. And it's massive organizations with balance sheets and budgets. And so again, it's, you know, you're sitting here watching a baseball game, but you're watching a well-defined financial plan set, because they know when they open those gates, how many people are going to come in there, how many hot dogs are going to be sold, how many beers are going to be sold. If they've got new t-shirts to come in, they've got it calculated. So we got another list here. This is not a Twitter Nugs list. This is not a top 5 list. This is the Forbes 2021 list of the top paid professional athletes. Now, this number, I want to tell you guys, is not their contract number of how much they were getting paid this year and salary-wise. This is roping it all together. So my example, our number 1 paid athlete is Conor McGregor, UFC.
Yep.
180 million.
180 million. He's got a whiskey out there. He did make a ton of money for his fights, especially the Floyd Mayweather fight. I mean, that was just basically a money grab on both their parts. But yeah, he does well with that whiskey.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a number of listing of their other outlets as well.
Yeah.
So we've got Lionel Messi.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Katie, I can't give you a hard time or how to pronounce this guy's name, because it looks like Lionel Messi, but he's
from Barcelona.
Barcelona, or at least he plays for Barcelona football, I assume.
You pronounced it right.
I did. Okay. Yeah. So it's soccer or football. 130 million.
130 million. Yeah. Cristiano Ronaldo, $120 million.
Okay. Number 4. This is mine and Cam's guy, because you know Cam's converted.
Hail State.
Woohoo! Dak Prescott, Dallas Cowboys. 107.5 million.
There was some drama behind that deal. It dragged on.
Yeah.
And on.
Oh yeah.
For a whole season, basically, right? I mean, am I not mistaken that the drama started at the beginning of last season?
Yeah, it was all about the franchise tag and.
Yeah, it drug on for a long time, and then obviously his injury played into it. So technically, you may be going, what? But Patrick Mahomes is the number 1 played, with Dak second. But again, guys, this is with the sponsorships and endorsements and everything. So this is all lumped. So Dak actually is the number 1 for NFL and number 1 in my heart.
And this is the Forbes list of top paid professional athletes in 2021. So these numbers that we're listing, is this the number that they pulled in 1 year? Is this like what they pulled in 2020, and so they're the top for 2021? Or is this, I mean, what is this number exactly? Do we know?
I would say something, but we're supposed to be supporting you as a dad.
That's
today,
right. I'm the dad,
so-
and I asked the question.
Okay, well, I was prepared because you do this to me all the time. So, what this says is in compiling this list, it's their on-field earning figures that accounted for all prize money, salaries, and bonuses in a period spanning from May 1, 2020 to May 1, 2021. Meanwhile, off-field earnings were tabulated through an estimate of sponsorship deals, appearances fees, licensing income during the same period of time, as well as cash returns from any businesses operated by this athlete.
Okay.
Mic drop. Do we say that anymore?
So this is basically just 1 year. This is
if
1
I
year. Understood
what
what you
they-
just read. It's 1 year.
Can you imagine?
I cannot. I mean,
Okay.
I can. I've told you before. I daydream
Cord,
about
how would
this
you
kind of
spend
money.
$180 million?
Yeah. Okay, we'll wrap up finishing off this list. So,
LeBron James, $96.5 million.
yeah.
Neymar, Paris Saint-Germain. I assume again that's another football team. 95 European football. $95 million. You want a couple or?
Go ahead, finish it.
Okay. Roger Federer. He's tennis, obviously. He's got $90 million. Lewis Hamilton. He's an F1 driver. I wonder, I saw his name and saw that he was an F1 driver. $82 million, by the way. I wonder if he's the young man that was on David Letterman's show on Netflix recently. If so, he's a very young guy. He's a very talented driver, but he's a very, very young guy. And that makes that it just makes him all that much more impressive. Number 9. We're at 9th place now. So Tom Brady is at 9th place on this list with $76 million. And then finally, Kevin Durant, who is now playing for the Brooklyn Nets, is at $75 million.
I'm surprised there are no golfers on this list. I mean, this is mainly NFL, soccer, and NBA.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's the ones that are bringing in the dough. Okay, let's give you a little stats, some statistics here. So the minimum salary for a 1-year contract in the NFL, $610,000.
That's the minimum?
Minimum.
That is the minimum. The lowest paid player on the team makes at least $610,000
Some
for a full
random
season.
sitting on the bench.
For a full 1-year contract.
1-year contract.
$610,000.
Yep. And we're going to dive a little deeper into that in a second. The average, I thought this was interesting. The average NFL water boy is making around $53,000.
He spit in my cooler.
I pictured him. What was Bobby Boucher?
Bobby Boucher.
Bobby Boucher.
My mama said.
The medulla oblongata.
I know a lot of people in Memphis, for instance, that are making way less than $50,000 that could probably carry some water out to the team on the field.
Exactly. And gladly be able to be a water boy.
And listen, I'm not for those out there that are professional water boys. I'm not diminishing what it is you
awesome.
contribute. I'm sure it's great, but I mean I'd be interested to know what all water boys have to do for that $53,000 because that's a pretty nice pay.
Well, in Space Jam, I mean, the plot was almost centered around that magical water. Remember when he convinced the team that it was special
true.
juice?
Yep.
Water is so important.
It is.
You can do it.
Okay, average NFL player is making about $860,000. So we hear about these high numbers, but the average player is making about that. Running backs are typically the lower end of the pay scale. They get pretty banged up during games and typically only last about 3 years in the NFL.
That's bananas that they're on the lower end.
There's
Yeah.
the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers used to always say that the people that he paid the least were, well, not paid the least, but he did not pay high for wide receivers because he felt like, they didn't touch the ball that many times during the game. So he would pay his quarterback and pay his running backs, but he wouldn't pay the wide receivers as high. I think he might have stepped away from that philosophy, but for a while there, that was his logic.
Yeah, well, and you're leaning into the point of every team, every franchise has their own way of how they do things and what they put pride into it. Kickers last the longest in the NFL. They average play time about 7 years. But so that's kind of what I want you've heard me say 1-year contracts, 7-year contracts, 3 years contract. Keep that in the back of your mind. But let's go back to an origin story. So let's go back in time. I feel like Wayne's World, like, and Court's looking at me like I'm an idiot.
No, I'm just, me, I'm peering around my microphone at you.
Peering around. Sports culture. It's changed. We started this episode talking about how, baseball almost didn't happen. Our athletes were going off to war. They were fighting our country. They were fighting for our country. They were trying to do what they could. Things have changed so much, and it's been because of money in this industry. It's been because of the media, average, all of it.
Well, you know what Cyndi Lauper says? She says, money changes everything.
I don't know. You said Cyndi Lauper, and I just thought love is a battlefield?
I was saying girls just want to have fun. Love is a Battlefield is
That's Pat Benatar.
Oh, it is Pat Benatar.
Oh, my Lanta.
Crap. My bad. I know songs, but I do not know who goes with what. That's terrible. My fault. Everyone shame me for that. It's okay.
Love is a battlefield.
Okay. So when I say sports have changed, in today's world, let's take basketball, for example.
Okay. Where are we taking?
Kid in 5th grade, he may be identified as potential. Then by 8th grade, starting to get recruited by colleges. And before you know it, agents are sniffing around because they want to get their hands on the next talent. And thus creates the posse, the entourage. I mean, yes, that great show on HBO was around a movie star, but it's the same premise. It's these people that the hangers on, the ones that see dollar signs, and they see that they want to be associated with that person because they're going to be the next big thing. It's parents, it's family, it's friends, agents. They all want their finger in the cookie jar. So it starts as early as 5th grade or earlier than that. Who knows? Did you know there's even high schools that sports agents actually work with? And there are academies that develop these players.
Nah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a crazy world out there. Colleges, I think, are even talking about allowing the players to start building their brand and getting paid for their brand.
Yeah. I think California was on the leading edge there.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, I don't know how much that was driven by the colleges. It was more driven by the states. A lot of states are passing laws saying basically you can earn money off your image, off your personal image. That's yours to sell as you wish.
For instance, the NCAA football games, they can start making money off of that.
Yeah, and so, I mean, these parents are, we sit there and talk about the pageant moms and how they are, like, living vicariously through their kids and they're, like, really pushing them. But the sports parents that are pushing these kids, and, I mean, there's been countless movies and TV shows about the kids are homeschooled or they, like, it's always practice, and education is very small. And as a whole, I got to throw out there, like, we are very lacking as a society in financial literacy. And, APEF, American Public Education Foundation, that we have a lot to do with, that David Pickler started, that Cam does a lot with.
Thanks for the plug, Katie.
Yeah. They very much are adamant about financial literacy because right now there is only 6 states that require just 1 semester of financial management in high school. And I mean, we're sitting here doing a whole podcast that I'm hoping is going to be going on for years and years to come because we're telling you guys how important it is. And we're only doing 1 semester in high schools in 6 states.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
It is crazy. If you consider the fact that not every child is going to go to post-high school education.
Yeah.
Like, especially now that we're starting to give kids in high school the fundamental skills that they need to succeed in a vocation right after high school. It's workforce development. We've got it here in Collierville at our high school. These kids are learning skills that they can put to use immediately after graduation. And so you've got an 18-year-old that's going out there, possibly leaving home, possibly taking a job, moving out on their own for the first time, and they may have no idea about any of the stuff that we talk about on a regular basis on this podcast.
Yeah. So, and that's
not here in Collierville and in Shelby County, we're getting the financial literacy going, but in those other places that don't even have a semester of it, that's crazy.
Another plug: next month, APEF will be releasing their financial literacy report card, where we grade each state based on their standards, courses, all of that.
So imagine a kid that, okay, I'm sidetracking you a little bit, but not by much. We are, Collierville is a town outside of Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee has 2 things in abundance: great basketball players who are also very poor. And a lot of times, these young basketball players who are true talents and who are going to go somewhere in the NBA, their entire family's hopes are pinned on their success.
Yeah.
And so they're driven to get out of high school as quickly as possible and start making money as quickly as possible. That's why so many players now are looking at going to the NBA's G League. If they can't jump straight from high school to playing professionally for the NBA, they'd rather go to the G League where they can get paid than go to college where they can get a scholarship but not get paid. And so the G League is really a potential chaos maker for the college system, for the NC2A. But if they do that, if they go into the G League, or let's say somebody like LeBron who jumps straight from high school to the professional to NBA, level playing basketball, that on that rare occasion when a high schooler does that jump, think about how old they are when they do that. LeBron being 18 years old, having a huge contract.
Yeah, I mean, and think about what you were doing when you first got out of high school. Like, we all have made dumb decisions. And so, wrapping it back to what you're saying is that these kids are trained and they're bred to be like, they have talent. They do have pure talent, and they're going to be the next best thing, hopefully. But their parents are seeing them as meal tickets, and they are relying on them and putting so much pressure on them. And at the end of the day, there's only so few that actually make it. Mm-hmm. Remember I said just under 1,200 people make it to the NFL because there's limits. So unless they're going to start making more NFL teams, there's only a certain number of people that get to play. And so you're banking on people retiring or opening up spots. And that's what we're putting so much pressure on these athletes. And we're not teaching them about financial literacy, about general education. We're not coming up with their backup plan. And that's where this episode I kind of wanted to go into, is that we've prepared these people to be the next best thing. But what happens if they're not? Or what happens if they are and they do not have that financial education to know what to do when that big paycheck comes to them? Mm-hmm. So many of those athletes end up going broke. And that's kind of what we want to talk about is, so Russell Davis, he was a running back with the 79 Super Bowl champ Pittsburgh Steelers. He was totally unprepared for the money that came with his success. And he remembered when he was cut by the Steelers after a 5-year career, he had to give up his big house. He had to give up the car. He had to figure out how to go back to a normal life. And, I mean, this is common. Sports Illustrated actually said that the estimated 78% of NFL players are either bankrupt or under financial stress within 2 years of retirement. And it's 60% for baseball players within 5 years of leaving the sport.
78% and 60%. And that's mind-blowing to me. 78% of football players. And the lowest paid person on a team makes $610,000 in 1 year. The lowest paid player.
Yeah.
Paid player.
Think about it. It's the cookie jar philosophy of, you're sitting there making $450,000, $610,000, making all this great money. But what if you get injured? What if you get cut? Then you're now having to go from making $610,000 to $45,000 a year. Mm-hmm. It's very hard if you don't have your ducks in a row. As a rookie, you're like, oh, I've got all this great money. I'm going to buy a luxury car. I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to take care of my parents who've supported me all these years. I'm going to take care of my friends because now I'm blessed and have all this money. I got to buy the bling. I got to live the life. I've got to pay my PR person, my attorney, my agent. Because when you hear those big contract numbers,
think about where all that money's going than just...
Think about it.
That guy that has that huge contract is paying a lot of people from that money that he's getting from that huge contract.
Yeah, agents get anywhere from 3 to 6%. And, I mean, that's a lot. So, we sit there and talk about the fry tax and the ice cream tax. Well, if you're sitting there doing the numbers, you're like, okay, I'm making this much, but how much of it is already allocated out?
Yeah.
And it's these guys are keeping up with the Joneses, and they're successful. They want to live the life. Because we've also now made these athletes, idolize. They're celebrities. So what would society think if, let's say Dak Prescott is driving around an old hoopty truck and just not wearing designer clothes, wearing Old Navy or something. I don't know. Like
Faded glory.
people would probably chew him up and be like, well, what's he doing? Why isn't he not dressing nice? Why is he not having his image?
All about the brand.
There was a football player that got murdered, and I remember reading the article. He got murdered by his ex-girlfriend or his ex-wife. I can't remember which it was, but I remember reading the article, and it said his body was found in his apartment. And I thought to myself, this was a star football player. This was not just some chump whose name you wouldn't have heard. This was a star football player whose body was found in his apartment. And I thought, how in the world was he living in an apartment when he was as big as he was? But,
Because you think about it, you were flooded all of this money, and society as a whole, we all want that immediate gratification. We've been gifted all this money, and we're not thinking about the future. We're thinking about, I want to buy this now. But in the lifetime of a football player, it's extremely short. It is so short, and you never know if your contract's going to be renewed. Like, I'm sorry, a Cowboys fan, so I got to go back to it. Dak, he had that fatal. I was there when that injury happened.
Fatal, but
it was
a terrible,
brutal.
Brutal. Sorry, yes,
Yeah.
Brutal injury.
He died.
His career could have died.
His career could have ended, and
it could have, and he could have, if he had not taken care. And I don't know what his financial situation is at all, but at that moment when he fell and that hit happened, it could have been it. Mm-hmm. Would he have been prepared for the rest of his life?
Who knows? So you have a specific tale to tell, and I know that you know how to say this name.
Oh well, and before that, I got to go back and have anybody seen the show Ballers?
Oh yeah,
with
yeah,
Dwayne
yeah.
Johnson.
No,
The
I
Rock?
haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
It's really awesome. I actually started watching it when I started here because I thought, oh, okay, like I like The Rock and he's a financial advisor. Well, he is an ex-football player, I guess retired football player, and decided he wanted to get into the industry to help these young players learn how to manage their money because there is that 78%. So it's a good show. Obviously, HBO takes their liberties with making it entertaining and fun. But I read a bunch of articles, and it is pretty true to what actually is going on in the professional athlete industry. And you got Jerry Maguire. Like, that's another great one that talks about with
fantastic.
the agents. And, he's all about Cuba Gooding's like, show me the quan. Show me the money.
Quan.
But you think about Cuba Gooding Jr.'s like, Jerry, I got my wife, I got my cousin Tito, I got this, I got that. Like, he has the whole family he has to take care of because they all have mooched.
Yeah, my neighbor is a professional athlete, and he's so young, such a young guy. And it's encouraging to see him
You like how Cam just dropped it? Yeah, my neighbor's professional
and I'm
athlete.
not saying who he is or who he plays for, but it's encouraging. He doesn't live in a mansion by any means. He seems to have his head on his shoulders. He's not blowing through his cash, so that's good.
That's good. That is very good. Because there are also a lot of people out there that probably are looking to take advantage of the sports stars and sports heroes that we all revere, but they don't know what they're doing with their money. And there are people out there that have no scruples that will have no problem taking all their money away.
They're extremely vulnerable, and that's what we're saying is that, society has changed, that they're not teaching these kids to not trust everybody. And so if they're an 18-year-old just got this great deal in the NBA, they're going to trust somebody, and they may take all their money or just, give them wrong advice. So yes, now, Court, I will say my story. And of course, you put me on the spot now. I'm like questioning myself. Can I say it right?
Give it a try.
The Bobby Bonilla contract.
Yes.
Okay, so Bobby Bonilla. Most people have probably heard of him if you've watched anything sports related or ESPN. He was a former baseball player for the Mets. Actually also played with the St. Louis Cardinals, my other little team. He retired in 2001 and hasn't played for the Mets since 1999, then onto the Cards. Yet he is among the highest paid player on the Mets payroll. What? Yes, so July 1st is widely known as Bobby Bonilla Day because this is the day he gets paid. And he specifically gets paid $1,193,248.20.
That's so specific.
That is the exact amount. This deal was in 2000. The Mets agreed to buy out Bonilla's remaining $5.9 million contract. He was smart. He had good people advising him. Instead of getting the cash up front, which instant gratification a lot of us want, he agreed to hold off and not get paid till 2011, but agreed to give him $1.19 million per year for 25 years. So he will continue to get paid until 2035.
That's fantastic.
That's amazing.
Brilliant, brilliant planning. So he has set a guaranteed paycheck
For a big portion of his life.
for pretty much his whole life. I think he's going to be like 72, 70,
Yeah. something
like that. And so it's a guaranteed 8% interest rate. The Mets are going to pay him nearly $29.8 million. That's more than double the value of the contract if he had taken it flat out in cash. So not only did he make a smart move to really ration it out over his life, but he's getting more money. And, this deal is something that if he does pass away, it does have a good attorney was involved with this one doing the contract because he makes sure it goes to his heirs as well. So if he passes away,
Excellent.
it will
That's
go.
Good. That's good.
Yep. So it's one of those that a lot of people go, okay, well, he, screwed over the team by doing this, but actually it freed up their liquidity because then now they had cash flow that they weren't
did that
having.
open up cap space, I wonder?
Yeah. I mean, they now know they have that on their records, but it's also a constant. They know, and they didn't have to upfront all of that money.
Yeah.
So what this really teaches us is the benefit of the long term and not being tempted by the short term impulse. And you sit there and think about using the loans, using other people's money and not having to have all this money up front, that if you can rationalize and not have that temptation of give it all to me now and space it out, you're setting yourself up so much better.
I wonder how he lived for the 10 years that he wasn't getting paid.
So he left the Mets and then went to play for the Cardinals for a little while.
Okay, so he didn't quit playing.
He didn't quit playing. He quit playing with the Mets in 1999, but then he went and played for the Cardinals, so he probably worked a deal with the Cardinals payment then.
How long did he play for the Cards?
A couple years, I think.
Okay.
But so what I thought was interesting is we all know this because of his contract and how smart he was with this, but I'm sure the guy would really like to be remembered for being a 6-time All-Star, hit almost 300 home runs in his career and, batted over, I don't know how to say it.
Batted over 300.
300, thank you. I'm like, batted over .300. So as anything, the saying with baseball, once you're done with baseball, all that's left is your name. And so Bobby, everyone knows about him, but it's definitely for his contract and not necessarily for his playing. But you know what? The Mets didn't stop with Bobby.
No, they did not.
They are actually still paying former outfielder Darryl Strawberry $1.6 annually and pitcher Brett
Saberhagen. Let's go with it.
He still gets $250K each year.
And then Ken Griffey Jr. worked a deferred deal for his $12 million salary, so he's still making over $3 million every year through 2024.
And
so there are some guys out there that structured pretty good deals for themselves.
Oh yeah, Gretzky, A-Rod, Babe Ruth, Matt Holliday, Pujols, Kevin Garrett, all of them have worked out some kind of deferred. And then I want Cam to talk about the other guy that's actually worked out because I think it would make him a little happy.
Are we talking about Zebo?
Yes.
Zebo!
Zach Randolph, who
Yes,
was part of the
sir.
Core 4 Grizzlies.
Grit and grind,
Grit
baby.
and grind, baby. Go Grizzlies.
Okay, yeah. So Zebo obviously had great people helping him out. He actually did 2 different contracts. One that was when he was with the Blazers. It was a 6-year deal, $84 million in 2004, and he had 20% of it, which was about $25 million. Allocated to go over from 2012 to 2017 when he started with our beloved Grizzlies. He also signed a 4-year deal for $66 million in 2011 and deferred almost $10 million. So, Zebo had the nice, have your cake and, or what is it? What's that phrase? You can have your cake and eat it too. So, yeah, he let himself have a little cake now, but then he made sure that, he was taken care of later down the road.
Zebo is also a good citizen. As a professional basketball player, he was a good citizen for our city, certainly. So he's not just using getting paid wisely, but then he's also using his money and spending it on worthy causes. He's a good guy. So
Yeah, but it's the athletes end up being broke because they haven't managed their money, and that's why you see a lot of them partnering up with car dealerships and selling cars, or like moving back to their hometown where they're a recognized name and people will pay for them to show up to different events or pay for endorsements and stuff like that. And trust me, it's probably not that they want to be doing that. I mean, some people will probably do endorsements and stuff, but they would do it for free. These people are doing it because they need to have an income. They blew through all their money because their careers were over at such a young age, and now they have their rest of their life. It's the basic of financial planning. We tell people you work this whole time. Now we need to work with you to make sure that all that money you made while you were working is going to be there for you to have where you don't outlive your money.
It's interesting. This is completely off the sports talk, but I was reading an article the other day.
Well, it is Father's Day, so I'll let you go off.
Yeah. Reading an article the other day about an actress whose name is Charisma Carpenter. She played Cordelia Chase in Buffy the Vampire Slayer the spinoff Angel. And she was there was an article recently about some stuff that she came out in the press and said, and she was really, really worried about how this was going to affect her career. But specifically, she was worried about how it was going to affect the fans' feelings about her, because the majority of her career right now and the majority of her income comes from going to conventions. Mm-hmm. It's so if the fans thought negatively of what she said, then it would impact her ability to earn a living at the conventions. So whether it's sports stars or actors or whatever, a lot of these people are going out and doing things like conventions and stuff because it's a major source of revenue for them.
It is. It makes me think of Seventh Heaven a few years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago. It came out that the dad in Seventh Heaven did some pretty bad things, and so they stopped showing the show everywhere, and that affected royalties for the entire cast.
Yeah.
It was a bad deal.
The reputation is so important. But how you can relate it, you're going, okay, well, I don't think I'm ever going to be an NFL star. But it's one of those, like, if you've been gifted an inheritance, a large sum of money, or something happens in your life and you have rolled into a good amount of money, you've got to just remember in the back of your head, there's instant gratification or there's deferred gratification, and that you can really space it out to take care of you for the rest of your life. Because we talked about the net worth the other day, or other episode, and how millionaires, it's gone within the second or third generation.
Yeah.
All the money's gone because people get into money and blow it.
Mm-hmm. The kid doesn't have the work ethic of the parent, or doesn't have. A lot of times the wealthiest people, somehow they have financial restraint. They have the ability, and they have everything that it takes to build a good amount of money. And for some reason, that's not getting passed along to generations down the line. And so it is important, whether you're a sports star or just somebody who's trying to build your own fortune, or whatever. It's important to know about this financial stuff. That financial literacy is important.
I mean, now it's not always the dads, but I think it's kind of wrapping it back to some of the dad comments about, we're not made of money, turn the lights off. Like, I just picture some of these like athletes and stuff that have their act together still yelling at their kids like, we're not made of money, like, turn this light off, even though they're sitting in a very nice house, and they are kind of at the moment made of money because they're making a lot. But it's just, the dads, if you're the dad listening to this right now, you be that financial anchor that kind of keeps everybody level-headed of no matter what you have. And it's a balancing act.
And if you're a mom listening to this right now,
you can do it too.
Give that dad a break.
But it's something
you didn't even mention the Target Dads video.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the Target Dads. If you haven't watched the Target Dad video, it's hilarious. It's and obviously it's a spoof, but it's the dads all realized that there were several other dads sitting in the parking lot while their wives were in shopping, and so they all started kind of like starting to, be friends and mingle and hang out. And next thing you know, they're tailgating. Next thing you know, there's one of them's driving a minivan and they're watching a movie and got snacks, and the moms come out and like, what is going on?
Target bills. I tell you what, my thing as a father is those Target bills. Target hits me so many times a month. It comes up on my statement so many times a month, and I'm just like, Target? Oh!
But so
And you target.
yeah, but one of the things my dad, David Pickler, says all the time is when we're doing financial plans with people and talking to them about their overall thing is we want to make sure that it's a balancing act, that you're living life, you're allowing yourself those target splurges, you're doing what you want to be doing and having fun, but you're also thinking of the bigger picture and thinking of the future. So it truly is the balancing act. So dads, it's your day. So I'm going to make it where you are the ones that have to balance. The ball is in your court to make sure that you're the balancing for your family.
Balls. Because of sports balls.
Because of sports, yeah. Or I don't know, the grills, like, I mean, I haven't even picked on the dads for the whole dad uniform and, y'all
Dad bod.
Dad bod. I mean, there's so many jokes about the dads.
Yeah, thanks to COVID. I'm going to continue to blame it on COVID for probably a while now, even though we're coming out on the other end. But thanks to COVID, I definitely have a very strong dad bod going. I need to work on that. Hey, Cameron, what are you going to do for Father's Day?
I am going to mow the lawn and then just stare at it with pride while sipping on a brewski.
Wow, that is not at all what sounds like my favorite thing to do.
I'll probably just ask for some free time.
Yeah,
I don't want
golf.
I don't want physical things. I just want a little me time.
Yes, indeed.
What about you, Court?
I have no idea. I assume. I mean, I still have. I'm gonna go see my dad. Obviously, he's my favorite person in the world. So, gonna go see him, and probably hang out with him for a little while. He'll probably be watching golf if there's a tournament going on that day, and we'll sit and shoot the breeze for a little while.
Sports and dads, it goes together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't even like golf, but my dad does, so we'll sit there and watch it.
Oh,
I get into it. I mean, but golf made me such a miserable person when I tried to play it that I just I can't watch it. I do. I can watch it. I do watch it, but I don't know. Anyway, golf sucks.
Okay, well there goes our golf endorsements.
Katie, how do you boil this episode down into one or two proper takeaways for the people? What is your bullseye?
Okay, my bullseye is going to be about, yes, it's tempting. You want it now, but really having that balance of knowing that you don't need to have that instant gratification. You can, it's have a little bit, have a taste of it, but think about the bigger picture. Think about that deferred gratification and how you can really take this gift that you were given, whether you're a highly paid athlete that's, been given this great contract, or you've been inherited money, or something has happened where you've gotten this great money, or you just have a great job that you've worked your butt off for. Make sure you think about that, not doing instant gratification, but that deferred gratification.
Yes, okay. Bullseye. And my bullseye is financial literacy. It's all about financial literacy. This whole episode has been talking about sports stars and professional athletes, and how what kills them is the fact that they don't know how to manage their money. Mm-hmm. So I congratulate those people that listen to these podcasts that we do and have actually taken away some good messages from them. But I encourage you to take it one step further and make sure that financial literacy is being taught to the most important people that it needs to be taught to, and that is your kids as well. Because those kids can grow up, they could end up being, coming into some money, and it's important for them to know what they should do with that money. So if you're not in the state of Tennessee, if you live in one of those states that's not the 6 states that actually have financial literacy as a program in the schools, then you should start advocating in your state for schools to start adding that as a program. Just a semester, even a semester can make a huge difference. Financial literacy is important. That is all. Bullseye.
Okay, before you start, Court, I've got to throw in, you said your dad was your best friend. You're going to watch golf with him. Well, I got to talk about my dad. Dad, you're awesome. Thank you for making me know a good bit about sports by taking me to a World Series game when the Cardinals were in it. Woohoo! And going to tons and tons of Cowboys games across, my life, and all kinds of different sporting events. Kentucky Derby, everything. Thanks, Dad.
And since your dad is my boss, I'll tell him thank you as well for being such a great boss. But I'm going to spend my Father's Day with my father. Okay. There's the closing bell, Katie. Ladies and
Can I
gentlemen.
spend Father's Day with David? Is that cool?
Sure. You're like us. You were on a group family text for a long time, Cam.
I kind of feel like his son.
My husband wasn't on it, but Cam was. You know.
Okay, continue.
This just got really awkward for me because now I feel left out. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you've made it to the end of yet another episode of the Bullcast Podcast. This is episode 54. If you liked what you heard and you've never heard us before, why not? I can tell you how you can fix that forevermore. You go to your favorite podcast subscription service, you subscribe to our podcast, and our podcast will get beamed straight to your phone every single Thursday.
Beam me up,
I
Scotty.
am freaking pumped right now. Just do it. Download it now.
Download the podcast, learn about money, or all of the other random things that we talk about. If you'd like to find out more about me and Katie and the podcast, or leave us a message or suggest a topic for an episode, you can do that on our website. That website is bullcastpodcast.com. If you'd like to look at some pictures of me and Katie, maybe you can watch the progress as I try to slowly claw my way back out of dad bod by checking us out on Instagram.
You can do it!
That Instagram handle is @bullcastpodcast. And also, we occasionally put the words on the Twitters, and the Twitter handle is also @BullcastPodcast. Are you seeing a pattern here, people? Okay, finally, Katie and I work for a place called Pickler Wealth Advisors. And our boss is David Pickler, as we mention frequently. If you'd like to find out more about Pickler Wealth Advisors, our amazing team, and our amazing boss, and Katie's amazing father, then check out picklerwealthadvisors.com.
That's advisors with an O.
Not an Eve.
Bingo! Ladies and gentlemen, I feel like I've given you everything you need to go forth and be merry. So for now, I'm Court.
I'm Katie.
I'm Cam. I'm going to go cut the grass and drink a beer.
We out.